I'll talk a little bit about the timing and the spacing thing that we were looking at a second ago. Let's see. Yes. When we are looking at what he calls the spacing, that's essentially how the thing moves, so the feel of it. So will it be like a snap, or will it be a slow movement, or seemingly slow and controlled movement, or something like that. So if we, I will just pop to orthographic front view, like so, and then I'll create a sphere. So again, interactive off, and then just create a sphere. And then I will actually split this view. So I go layouts, 2 panes stacked. There we go. And right now it's the same thing for both of them, but then I will grab the lower one here and make that the graph editor. So the graph editor is a way that we see curves for what is going on with an object. So when we animate something, it's essentially the values that are changed over time. So with the graph editor, we'll see the curve of the value. So for instance, if in this case I have 24 frames, so that's 1 second. So I'll place it over here at frame 1, and I'll press key to animate, S, and then I'll go to frame 24 and I'll move it over here, and I'll press key again. So we get this, and Maya will by default create an ease in, ease out animation. So you'll see that this will like accelerate and then decelerate. It might be slightly hard to see because it's such a long movement, but you hopefully you can see it. What I can do in here is I go to the animation menu, and in the animation menu there's something called ghosting. So if I go ghost selected, you'll see that it'll try to show the spacing. So you can see that the spacing is much closer towards the ends, and in the middle they almost separate, and then they get closer together again here. So that is how this ease in and ease out. I can actually do something to this. I can just go and say I need to make this a weighted curve, and then I can actually grab this and I need to unlock it. Let's go free tangent. So if I grab this thing, I can make this longer. So now I'll make the ease in and ease out parts longer. So I need to go tangent free. You can see it becomes a little open cube. So if I do it like this, I will have the start and the end even more close together, and the middle even more separated. So this is closer to the thing that he did with the coin. So there you can see how the movement is created by the curve. So the way you should read the graph editor, the flatter a curve is, the less change there is, the slower the movement is. The steeper the curve is, the faster the changes, the faster the movement is. But you have to keep in mind what values are actually going on. So you can have a lot of change relatively, but it will not be a lot of movement depending on what it is. So if this was a rotation, it would only be like a rotation from here to here, because it needs 360 to go all the way around. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Also, the graph editor is color coded like most other 3D programs. So red is the x-axis, so translate, rotate, and scale in this case. Green is the y, and the blue is the z-axis. So that's the way you can know your curves. Also, in the graph editor, if you click on one or more, if you just click drag or you control click, you can select what curves should be shown in your in your graph editor. So here I only have the translate X, here I only have translate Y, translate Z, rotate, and you can see that most of these curves are totally flat. That means that there's no change, so essentially there's no animation, but it is animated, but it's animated standing still, if you like. So let's go back to translate X, and then I'll take this curve and I'll make it a linear curve. So I can do that either here, or I can go tangents and go linear. So that changes. So now you can see that the spacing is totally equal all the way through. So we get this very equal spacing. So, and let's just go and do something entirely different. So if we want to animate this ball jumping, so I'll just go in here. I will select my object. I'll select all of the curves and I'll press delete. So that removes the animation. You can see the red color coding over here has disappeared. That means that there's no animation on the object now. Just need to update for the ghosting to go away. I put this at 0, and the ghosting is doing funny things right now. I'll just turn off the ghosting. On ghost selected. So what I'll do now is I'll animate a jump or a bounce. So what I'll do is, this is the starting position, and I'll set a key there. There. You can see it puts this little red line there, and suddenly something appears in the graph editor because now there's animation on this. I want the same position for the final position, so I'll put a key there. And then in the middle I want it up here maybe. There we go. So if I just look at the translate Y, it looks like this. So this will not look like a bounce. This will look more like something hanging from a spring or something like that, because I have the ease in and ease out at the bottom as well. What I really need here is for this to be a hard hit. So I select the key here, key point, and then I just select across the handle here, and then with my move tool selected I use the middle mouse button to drag this up. Do the same thing at the other end. So I get something like this. So the result is that we get this hard bounce effect, because suddenly I have my my movement going like this. It's very fast at the bottom and it's very slow at the top. Actually, this key here should be at 25, so I'll just hold the shift key and then middle mouse button, drag it to the right, so you can see it snaps across. So now I'll have a real looping animation. And let's turn on the ghosting here. Animate ghost selected, and again you can see that there's a lot of things spaced closely together at the top, and at the bottom they're spaced further apart. So again, the spacing is really the feel of the movement. So I will unghost this. So the final thing I'll do here is I'll try to animate a rolling ball, and then I'll make a bouncing ball as well. So let's just take the same thing, select this, go to edit, delete all by type, channels. That will remove all animation from all objects in all of Maya, like so. And then I'll make an animation of 100 frames. So I'll go down here, type 100, and I'll put a key at frame 1 out here, and I'll go to frame 100, and I'll move this over here, and I'll put another key there. So this will make it move across, and you can see it has this slight acceleration and deceleration. Now I want this to roll, and you could calculate the circumference of this thing. So it's 2 pi times the radius, so it's 2 times 3.1, so it's like 6 per rotation. So that would be 6, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, and then some. So it's close to 27, right? And I have to divide that by 6. So that would be 4.5. So it will rotate more or less 4.5 times going across the screen. And that I need to multiply by 360 degrees. So that would be around 1500 degrees. So I just go to my rotate tool. And when I rotate it here, it's important that I use the inner, in this case blue circle, not the outer circle, because if I use that, I'll run into some issues called gimbal rotation. So here I rotate the inner one, and I just keep going until it says, in this case, minus 1500. That should look more or less correct. So around here, and I press key to update this keyframe. So this should more or less work for the sphere rolling across.
So is there an easier way to figure out how many times?
Yes, you can just try.
Okay.
So you can just, like, you know, if you just look at it, you go, oh, it's about that. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. You know,
Okay.
ballpark it, and then if, for instance, I had been here and my estimate had been like way too low, like this. Just press key to update. You can see that it will slide. So you can see, it slides that way. Okay, so it's too little. So I'll just go to the last frame and I'll give it some more. And this, oh, see, this is what happens if I rotate the outer one. I start to get things I don't want. So I'm not pressing key here and just updating it. And then I'm grabbing this. And then in this case, let me go too far, like so. Press key. And then you'll see a different type of sliding. So you can see it's like burning rubber or something like that. So that way you can just ballpark it. So this should be fine. You don't have to be 100% exact. It will feel more or less right if you're around the right spot. So this will work like this. And then what we can do is actually make this into a bounce. The little trick here is grabbing the translation here, so we can see how it translates, and then decide how many bounces it would do. So more or less like he did, say, okay, I want bum, 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 bum. So maybe 6 bounces. Or to make it, yeah, okay, 6 bounces. So I need to separate this. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that would be 5. So that's fine. But I'll just go. So at frame 20, I will put a key again. And then at frame 40, I'll put another key. And at frame 60, I'll put a key. And frame 80, I'll put a key. So now I have keys that are evenly spaced. It's fine. And then I go in the middle between this, and I'll just drag up the sphere. And then go to 30, drag that up. Maybe let it go slightly lower each time. I can always fix this later. There, there, and there. Something like that. So now I get this funny, like rolling the hills thing. Right? Because it's, if I look at the translate Y, they are all soft at the bottom, and I don't want that. So what I do is I select all of these, and I can just make these linear. So I just go tangents linear, or press this thing here. And I still want to, this looks sort of okay, I guess. It's not really good, but it's okay. It's not really good. The thing is, if I select one of these handles here, I'll move both of them, as you can see, which doesn't really work. So what I need to do is grab all of these bottom ones, and then I need to break the tangents. So that's this one, or tangents, break tangents. What this does is, you can see they're individually color-coded now, so each of them will be separate. So this one will be separate from the other side. Just go and do this. And I'm using the middle mouse button when I'm moving it. That's quite important. It won't work with the left one. So there we go. And let's see, it should be slightly better now. Although it speeds up in the horizontal direction, it seems to work. What we could do maybe is move this down, because this is actually the one where it's a little slower. So just tweak that. Like so, move it down a little bit more, something like that. So it's like speeding up. So already now we give the ball a little bit of character in the way that it's acting, and that's actually the way it works. It is the timing and the spacing that sort of tells the story of who this is. The same way we saw in the video with the bowling ball as opposed to the ping pong ball, etc. Also, if you looked at the way the fingers were moving, some of the fingers were like just casual, like over there, and some of them looked like, especially those that were easing in and easing out a lot, seemed like somebody was maybe upset and tried to control themselves. So it's like, go over there, right? So you can, by simply changing the speed of the animation, or how it animates it, you can convey an emotion to the animation. So for instance, if you animated this like just doing tiny jumps in the start, maybe you could tell a story of this being a little shy maybe, and then it comes out something like that. So when you animate something, try to maybe try to act it out. How would you? Maybe it's a little difficult with the ball, but it's how would you tell the story? Actually, a good thing to do is imagine you're playing with Barbie dolls when you have to animate something, because you have, if this was a doll, you don't have anything to like articulate it. You don't have facial expressions or arms moving around. So how would you tell it? It's like, oh, I'm really happy. Okay, so it's there's a good up and down movement. Oh, I'm really sad. It's not very good. So it's slow and it's bent over, things like that. So if you can take that sort of movement first, and then you can always add all of the other detail stuff later. And that's really the important thing. Don't do too much too early. That goes for more or less everything. The same thing goes for modeling. If you start adding detail too soon, you'll just work yourself into a hole. So start with the broad things and then add detail later on. So yeah, I'll stop this, and then you should start out trying to do